Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome on board. Let's hit the next slide and we'll get this party started. Wow. We miss seeing you all in person so much, but thank you for being with us online today. We're happy to share with you either way. And for those of you who don't know us here, I want to just introduce myself. I'm Patti Cash. I'm the owner here at Magic Cruises and Tours. And with us today for this special presentation is Tina Tiano, who is our representative with the Globus family of brands. Who's going to walk us through some of these trip highlights to look forward to. But before we start with that, I just want to take a little bit of time to introduce you to us at Magic Cruises and Tours. For those of you who don't know us, we are located in downtown Worthington, right central Ohio area. And we've been here since 1988, having lots of fun over the past, 33 years or so. We are vacation people. In fact, we're your vacation people. Back in like 2008, I believe, we started to work with the Nationwide Retirees Reunion Planning Committee and helping to have the retirees go on wonderful group trips together every year. And we've been to some great places. I mean, that first year was Denver. We've been to Hawaii, San Antonio, Texas, Ireland tour, Alaska cruise, Panama Canal cruise. I mean, so many great places, and there's still so much more to see and share. And it's a great way to travel together and make some new friends at the same time. And we certainly have made a lot of great friends along the way. It's been wonderful traveling and sharing with all the folks at Nationwide, retirees and your family and friends who are certainly always invited on these trips. And it's a wonderful program that we're delighted to be able to help facilitate for everybody. We've been working directly with the Nationwide Retiree Planning Committee, who is made up of a group of very knowledgeable, talented people that we meet with throughout the year that help us. In fact, I think there's some of the members on board here with us today. Maybe Jim Benny, I saw your name. I see Liz Lieb, Joanne McHugh. Joanne is our chairperson of the planning committee, and I'm going to tell a little secret that today is Joanne's birthday. So everybody say happy birthday, Joanne. All right, we can't hear you, but that's good. That was good. But we work together with the planning committee, and based on their feedback and your feedback about what you're interested in, we then create the very best trips at the very best value, and then help to ensure that things go seamlessly for some smooth traveling experiences. So we're delighted to play that role with you and help you along the way every single step. Now, you're going to be in good hands when you work with us at Magic Cruises and Tours, because if you're not working with me, you're going to be working directly with Marcia Forsey or Kate Black in our group department. And many of you already know Marcia and Kate. That is their cute little faces there saying hi to both of you. And today we're going to be giving you a quick overview of some of the upcoming trips that we've got scheduled for the retirees and family and friends to join in the fun. After much discussion, we've decided we're going to try to keep it domestic for the next couple of years. And we're going to be talking about 3 great trips, one to the Canyon Country in May of 2022, and then Music Cities in September of 2022, and then Cape Cod and the Islands and more for September of 2023. And you can get more information about these great trips. We've got there's flyers, there's day-by-day itineraries, there's a lot of good tips and stuff online at the magiccruises.com/nationwide on our website, or certainly give us a call and we're happy to answer any questions along the way. So I think right now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tina, and we're going to start at the beginning of what is Globus family of brands. And we've used Globus for over the 33 years that we've been in business, and they've been around a lot longer than that. And then we're going to walk through these tours. We're going to start with the first just announced tour of 2023 September, and then work backwards. So stick with us, guys, and here we go. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Patti. What a great introduction. Well, hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And before I get started talking a little bit about Globus and about some of the really unique and great tours that Patti and her staff have picked out for you, I want to say a special thank you to Magic Cruises and Tours. You know, I work with a lot of different travel agencies all throughout the country, and I have to tell you that you are in such good hands with folks at Magic Cruises. They not only know their product, but they are out there every day really making sure that you're getting the vacation of your dreams, the vacation that you paid for. And I can't think of really anybody more professional than that travel agency. So you guys are so lucky to be working with such wonderful professionals in the industry. So thank you to Patti and staff. So speaking of being in good hands, I do want to tell you just a little bit about Globus Family of Brands before I get started with all the really exciting tours that they've chosen for you in the next couple of years. And a little history on Globus for those of you that may not know. We actually started as a single rowboat in Lugano, Switzerland that ferried people across the Italian lakes. It was 2 Italian gentlemen. And this was 92 years ago. And the reason I like to tell people that, especially in the current climate that we're living in, is the longevity of this tour operation has stood the test of time and has been tested repeatedly. We've survived world wars and stock market crashes and now COVID too, to really bring to you a really quality product. And from that single rowboat that ferried people across the lakes, we've grown into one of the largest tour operators in the world. We have tours all over, whether domestic, international, and we have a variety of different products. But the reason I like to bring up this slide is I just want you to feel, again, like you're in really good hands. You can see the amount of awards that we've won, and we like to tell our travelers this, not to brag, but just to know that you are with a really well-respected tour operator that knows what they're doing, has perfected their craft, and has been awarded not only by you, the traveling public, but by the folks that sell us, which are the travel agents all across the world who really feel like we're doing the best to put their clients in the position to have the best vacation experience for the dollar. And we have 4 different brands under the Globus Family Brands umbrella. Patti and her staff, for yours, particular groups have chosen an escorted tour, our first class escorted touring, which is Globus, the most inclusions, the best hands-on experience. It's stress-free. It's an excellent value for the dollar, and you're going to feel very well taken care of. We also have another escorted brand, our Cosmos brand, which builds in a little bit more free time into our itineraries, a little bit more budget oriented. We have our independent travel, which is Monograms, and lastly, we have the jewel in our crown, which is our award-winning Avalon Waterways, our river cruise company that has won a myriad of awards the last few years. So as you can see, we're not only really well diversified, we have that longevity on our side, and again, I want you to feel like you're in really safe hands when you travel with us. So some of the inclusions that you get with our Globus First Class Touring, you do get excellent hotel selection, you get excellent tour guides, you get state-of-the-art itineraries and transportation, you have VIP access, which means no waiting in line for any of the excursions that you do. And you also have a lot of free time built into your tour. So not only are you getting to see the sites with a guide and a local guide, but you're also getting that time to experience those places on your own, to be able to go back and say, oh, wow, I always wanted to do this, or, oh, I always wanted to see this. You'll have an opportunity to do that in addition to all the escorted options that we do offer. Just so you know, we use quality transportation. Domestically, we use Mercedes-Benz motor coaches. They're brand new, they're state-of-the-art. They're super comfortable. They have great seat pitch, which means you have plenty of legroom for you tall folks out there. There's free Wi-Fi on board all of our coaches and electrical outlets, so you can always charge not only your phones, but your camera equipment, whatever you need, you'll always have it right there with you. Another really key feature, I think, with all of our tours is that we offer centrally located first-class hotels. So you're always right in the heart of a city or a national park. You're just steps away from all that that city or place has to offer. And what's so nice about that is the fact that when you do have your free time, you don't have to go far to see the sights and the sounds or experience the food of a destination. You're literally right there. So we really handpick our hotels to make sure you're getting the best, most comfortable vacation experience. The same with our tour directors. I've got to say, we have the cream of the crop. The average longevity of our tour directors is 23 plus years. This is one of the tour guides that we use out west. His name is Steve Ostin, and he has been escorting tours for over 20 years in the national parks. And he has such a passion for the destination. So we pick people that are not only well reputed within their industry, but those people that have a passion for the place. They want to share their experience. They want to share their knowledge with you as a traveler. There's nothing that can make or break a vacation experience more than having a really, really excellent tour director. So we always make sure that we pick the best. We supplement all of our tour guides as well with local guides. And you're probably saying, well, if your tour guides are so great, why do you need to do that? Well, we like to do that because when you go to certain spots, you want to experience that spot from a local, maybe somebody that was raised there, maybe somebody that knows all those little nuances about a place that you're not going to get just from reading a guidebook. They might be able to tell you where the best barbecue place is in Memphis, or where's the best place to hear blues. They'll be able to give you that hands-on experience that really kind of brings that destination to life for you. It will make you have that total immersion in a city or a place that you're looking for, that total immersive experience when you travel. That's why we use local guides to supplement all of our tour directors. We also do something which I absolutely adore, and I've fallen in love with this with all the Globus tours that I've taken, is we incorporate something called local favorites into all of our tour guide destinations. So what does that mean? That means you're getting hands-on experience when you travel somewhere. For instance, when we go to Monument Valley, which is a Navajo reservation site, we actually use a Navajo guide that will take you to all of the places that are sacred to the Navajo tribe, and again, give you that sort of insider information. What we're looking for with our local favorites is total cultural immersion, so that you feel that you're not only seeing a place, but you're experiencing it. You're getting to taste, you're getting to feel, you're getting to do things that you would do if you lived there as a local. So that's a key factor for us in all of our Globus tours. And as I go through some of the itineraries, you're going to see some really unique features that we do incorporate into our tours that are under the local favorites category. So I think that will really help you, again, travel as a local to some of the favorite places on the planet. And last but certainly not least is our Globus Go app. I adore this. I just used it, and so I can give you firsthand information about it, but it's a free download. You just go to any of the app stores that you use. You'll be able to download it, and you're able to access not only all your documents, your itineraries, any last minute changes, but you're also able to access any information about that place. So I was just in Spain. I literally got back just a couple of days ago. And when I had free time, when I was in some of the cities, I wanted some ideas of things to do, to see and do. So I went onto my Globus Go app, and it would give me a listing of things that were really within walking distance for me. And not only would it tell me maybe a great restaurant or a great wine bar or a great tapas bar to go to, but it would GPS and walk me literally from where I was standing to that place. So it makes it so convenient for you to fill up your free time if you want ideas or suggestions of the most incredible things that an area has to offer. The Globus Go app really is a go-to guide for you. So you'll be able to have access to that as well. So now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the itineraries that we're going to be offering. As Patti had mentioned before, Magic Cruises has opted to stick with domestic travel just for the next couple of years. We know post-COVID, a lot of people are anxious or concerned about traveling overseas. So we thought, you know what, why not make it easy for you? Let's stay close to home. And you know, the funny thing is a lot of times when you're close to home, you take for granted the things that are just nearby. You forget about everything the United States has to offer as far as travel and tourism and unique features and different diversity of the country. So they've chosen 3 really unique itineraries so you can experience the US at its best. And I think they've picked some of the best and some of my favorite spots. And as I was doing the PowerPoint for this presentation, I gotta say, I was kind of like, I want to do this because there were some just really unique features. So the first tour that I'm going to talk about is actually hot off the presses. It was just announced, as Patti had mentioned. It's for 2023, but the perfect time to go to Cape Cod and New England is in September. So they picked the best time of the year to travel. So it's September 15th to the 22nd of 2023. And it has an absolutely stellar itinerary. And what makes it unique and why I love it so much is really easy in and out of Boston. So easy to get to, easy access, easy airfare for many of us here where we're located in Ohio. But it starts in Boston. And one thing I think that it does is really unique that you'll see there is you stay in a place called Falmouth for 4 nights, and you use that sort of as your stopping and starting point. What's nice about that is you're only unpacking a couple of times, obviously, because when you're in Falmouth, you're doing day trips. And what makes this itinerary so unique is it does some things that a lot of New England itineraries forget about, and that's the islands. So you're getting to go spend the day over on Martha's Vineyard, which is an absolutely stunning spot, a day over to Nantucket, and also you're going all the way up to the very tip of Cape Cod in Provincetown. So again, a really unique itinerary, but with this, what we call hub and spoke, because you're staying in one spot and you're doing day trips. It's just very easy to come and go, and it makes it just a pleasure to be able to experience the best of New England on this itinerary. We also do a stopover, as you can see, in Newport, Rhode Island, which I'll talk a little bit about as we go through the presentation itself. But what you see there is what you're going to get to see in September when you're there in the latter part. I can't think of anywhere more beautiful to be in the United States in September than New England. Weather's still gorgeous, sunny, dry, crisp nights, and beautiful scenery. So as I mentioned before, this tour starts off in Boston. And as many of you may or may not have been there, this is a shot of Boston Commons. So we start our tour once you arrive and you do your welcome dinner. The next day you're up bright and early, and we start with a guided walking tour with a local host that I had mentioned before, somebody who's right from Boston. They'll have that really cool Boston accent that you've come to know and love. And they're going to take us on part of the Freedom Trail, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. But we start off in Boston Common. And Boston Common is actually America's oldest public park. It was built in 1634, and it's right in the heart of downtown Boston. So it's really kind of in a really cool starting point. Very easy access. You'll also have an opportunity to be taken to the Old North Church, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Old North Church, and you know who that statue is there in front, which is Paul Revere. So the Old North Church is where Paul Revere gave his famous signal, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. So you'll get to hear the history of that, and again, all part of the Freedom Trail. And as I mentioned before, the Freedom Trail is about a 2.5 mile walk through Boston, and it hits 16 probably of the most historic sites as you walk through. And depending the length of time that you spend at each one, you can kind of stretch it out and make it an all-day thing, or you can just hit some of the highlights, or you can just stop in some of the areas that you want to see. So it'll hit all of the historical hotspots for you to experience. And our local guide will be taking us to some of them that you're going to see that I mentioned before, one being Faneuil Hall. So Faneuil Hall is kind of known as the home of free speech because it hosted America's first town hall meetings. It included protesting the famous Tea Act by the British, which resulted in the famous or the infamous Boston Tea Party. So that'll give you an idea of it. It's surrounded too by a lot of early American buildings that are now filled with shops and restaurants and all kinds of cute little pubs that you can go to. But Faneuil Hall has one really unique feature that I discovered when I was doing research for this presentation is at the very top, they have a weather vane that looks like a grasshopper. You're probably saying, okay, well, that is unique, but what does that mean? Well, during World War II, I found out that how they discovered who the spies were is when they questioned them, they asked them, what was the weather vane on Faneuil Hall? And only people from the US knew that it was a grasshopper. Spies did not. So that's how they kind of weeded out who were the spies and who were not during questioning. So just a little tidbit of information for you. You'll also have a lot of free time in Boston. You'll have the afternoon and evening free. So I'm going to give you just a couple of my favorite recommendations, but you can go to your Globus app and find some different ones as well. This happens to be the north side of Boston, and it's Little Italy. Okay, so my last name's Tiano, so you know why I'm recommending this. I've got to tell you that outside of Italy, I think Boston has some of the best Italian food that I've ever had. So I would highly, highly recommend that you go to the North End and find yourself a cute little Italian restaurant or maybe a trattoria where you can sit outside and have a cappuccino or have a limoncello and kind of people watch a bit in Little Italy. And also another really unique thing to do in Boston. Boston has a lot of very sort of steeped haunted lore. There's a lot of things that you can do at night, a lot of little walking tours, whether they're ghost tours or just haunted tours. And you get to go with a guide who's dressed in like early American garb and hear some of the stories behind some of the haunted areas in Boston. And it's just a fun night. It's unique, and I think it'll really kind of tickle your fancy when you're there at night. A fun thing to do. So the next day we head for Plymouth, and I know many of you are probably familiar with Plymouth Rock. So this is one thing you're going to get to see. Plymouth Rock, obviously, was the rock where the Mayflower landed up in Provincetown. It was taken from Provincetown in 1609, so you'll have an opportunity to see that. And it's sort of now surrounded in a sort of enclosed area because they had people that would desecrate it, unfortunately, with, you know, graffiti and so forth. So they had to clean it off. They put it now. You can still see it. You can still photograph it, but you'll be able to do that as well. And you'll also get to do one of the local favorites I was talking to you about. This is Flax Pond Farms. And for those of you that are cranberry lovers, this is a great place to go to see how cranberries are harvested because it's a very unique process. They're actually grown in water, and you'll see how they're harvested and how they're made into products there. So you'll have an opportunity to do that as well. So the hotel that we're going to be staying at now for the next 4 nights, you say, and you hear I said we because I really want to do this tour too, but I love this because this is where you're going to be for 4 nights and you're going to do your day trips from here. It's the Crest Hotel, and it overlooks Old Silver Beach, and it has the coziest, most charming little rooms, and it's on an absolutely stunning, as you can see, stretch of beach that overlooks Cape Cod. The views from here are spectacular. The sunrises, the sunsets are gorgeous. So this will be our home base. And again, it'll be just so much easier to be able to go from here and do your little day trips every day, just unpacking once. That night, after we check in, we're taking you for an absolutely amazing seafood dinner right on the ocean. So we'll take you to a local restaurant. It's one thing I love about our tours is when dinners are included, they're often at local places. And we'll take you somewhere with incredible views and with absolutely mouth-watering, locally caught and freshly prepared seafood, whether you're a lobster fan or crab or shrimp or whatever your favorite is, you'll have an opportunity to get the best of the best here. So the next day, we're going to be taking you over to Hyannis, and we're going to take the ferry boat. So what a unique experience. If you've never taken the ferry boat from the mainland over to Martha's Vineyard, you are in for a treat. It's very scenic. It's very beautiful. And as you go to land, you'll probably recognize Martha's Vineyard because they filmed Jaws there. So you'll see the quaintness of it. It has such a unique Victorian feel to it, but it also has some absolutely stunning scenery. As you can see, the coastline is dramatic and beautiful. So we'll have an opportunity to go to Oak Bluffs, and you'll also have an opportunity to visit Edgartown and Vineyard Haven. So you'll have free time here. Again, this is a great place to use your Globus app to find some things here, whether it's shopping or dining. You just want to hang out somewhere and people watch, maybe you want a little bit more seafood, you'll be able to do it here. But this is just a fun island. The locals are so friendly, so accommodating. The beaches are spectacular. So you're really going to love Martha's Vineyard. I have no doubt you will fall in love with it. So we'll also have an opportunity to go from Falmouth, which is where our hotel is, up to Provincetown, up on the very tip of Cape Cod. And Provincetown was actually the site of the original Mayflower landing. So the Plymouth Rock that you saw in Boston actually came from this area. So you'll have an opportunity to hear the history up here. Provincetown is very quaint, and it's filled with galleries and restaurants and specialty shops. And again, a really amazing stretches, long deserted stretches of beach that you'll be able to take advantage of as well. Even if you're just walking the beaches here are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And tonight we're going to take you to a local restaurant in Hyannis where you will be able to have some Italian food. Again, the Italian food in the Northeast, especially in this area, is stellar. And if you like Italian seafood, absolutely delicious. So again, from Falmouth, again, back to your hotel, which I love because you don't have to unpack a lot, but you're going to take the ferry over to one of my favorite spots too, which is Nantucket. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is so charming. It's sort of a tiny isolated island. It's a summer and fall destination, basically, although the locals do stay there winter round, year round. But it's absolutely beautiful this time of year. And it's got absolutely gorgeous dune-packed beaches. So you'll see the big sand dunes here. Absolutely beautiful. The town itself, there's cobblestone streets. They're lined with restaurants and high-end boutiques. It's a beautiful place to walk around, to shop, to eat. And you'll also be going with a local guide here, which will give you the history of Nantucket. And one of the things you'll get to see here is we're going to take a visit to the Whaling Museum here because Nantucket was a really big hub of the whaling industry back in the 18th century and 19th century. So you'll have a really good feel for the history of it here. You can also, in your free time, maybe do a whale watching tour here. The whales will still be there during the time frame that you're going to be there, so you'll have an opportunity to see and experience that as well. And we'll also have an opportunity to go from Falmouth to Newport. So we are going over to Newport, Rhode Island, which is their harbor is gorgeous because it's filled with yachts. It's a yacht-filled harbor which hosted the America's Cup for many, many years, and it's known for its mansions. It's mansions from the Gilded Age. So we're talking absolutely stunningly, gorgeously built mansions. Think of the Vanderbilts. In fact, you'll have an opportunity to tour the Vanderbilt Mansion here, which was the summer home for them. And it's done in a Beaux-Arts style. It's very ornate. And I've got a shot of the inside. It's pretty spectacular. Any of you that may have been to the Biltmore House at one point, you'll see a lot of similarity within this, but I can say it's probably a bit more opulent on the inside than the Biltmore actually is. So you will have an opportunity to see that as well. And then you're going to have a dinner at a Seaside Resort back in Boston. What's so unique about this is that, again, you're in and out of Boston. It's convenient, it's easy. So I'm going to turn it over to Patti. She's going to tell you just a little bit more about the time frame and the price. Patti?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Tina. That's quite a diverse amount of interesting sights to see during this trip, and lots of variations here, depending on what you're interested in. I love the idea that it is easily accessible with a round-trip flight into Boston. There could be pre- and post stays on these trips as well. You'll just have to ask us for those kind of details. And I just want to mention, you know, the local favorites that you point out, and pay attention as we move on forward. These are not just cultural immersions and enhancements, but they're things that you cannot really do on your own. So we're glad to be under the auspices of the Globus tour directors and taking us to the Cranberry Bog. That looks very cool. The price for this is from $28.57 per person based on double occupancy. And of course, again, that includes all of these accommodations and your transportation, luggage facilitating throughout. You don't touch your bag, just your carry-on as you go from spot to spot. And there's breakfast daily included with these tours, and then 3 really spectacular dinners, as Tina highlighted. So take a look online to get more details, and we'll move on to the next tour, which is going to be, drum roll please, Music Cities.
Yes, for you music lovers out there, you're going to absolutely love this itinerary because it's the top music cities in the country. So you're going to get to see and hear the sounds that really define country, define blues, and also the start of rock and roll. And I'm from Cleveland, obviously, so the Rock and Roll Museum, rock and roll term was coined here, but I got to say the roots for rock and roll really come from this area, as you'll see as we move on. So I love this itinerary too because there's not a lot of moving around. Again, you're spending 3 nights in Nashville and 3 nights in Memphis, so very easy peasy. The dates on it again are wonderful. They're September. Best time to travel is shoulder season as far as I'm concerned, and it's September 23rd to 29th of 2022. So keep that in mind, and Patti will be back on at the end of this to give you some more details about the time frame and the pricing on this one as well. But I kind of want to take you just through some of the highlights because the itinerary is really unique, and we do incorporate a lot of features in it from these 2 cities that I think you're going to want to see and experience. So we're starting out in the city of Nashville. So we arrive in Nashville, which really is the home, as everybody knows, is the home of the Grand Ole Opry and the legendary venues like the Country Music Hall of Fame, the historic Ryman Auditorium, which we're going to get to tour. Also, you're going to feature this area, which is amazing. It's Honky Tonk Road. So you music lovers and also you foodies out there, you're going to love this because it's club after club where you can hear a lot of local music, but it's also restaurant after restaurant. If you're after some really good barbecue, I'll tell you what, I ate my way down the street. I ate and drank down the street, and you're going to have the opportunity to do the same. So this is one thing that we're going to highlight during this tour. Another key feature is we get to stay in the Gaylord Opryland Resort, which is the premier resort. It's the one everybody wants to be in. It has everything. It's like almost like its own city undercover. It's under one roof, and it has things like it's got 9 acres of indoor gardens and waterfalls. It's got an indoor-outdoor swimming pool. It's got a world-class spa, and it's so easy to access within this. And because it's covered, it doesn't matter rain or shine. You can walk around and still experience the entirety of this covered city. And again, the premier resort in all of Nashville. So we start the day with a sightseeing tour, and we start off with Centennial Park in Nashville, which was site of the 1897 Tennessee Exposition. And one of the things you're going to get to see here is they have a replica of the Parthenon, which was built there, and it's pretty spectacular. The gardens are gorgeous, but unfortunately, the picture I don't think does this justice, the Parthenon, because it's the size and the look of the exact Parthenon in Greece. But you'll have a really unique tour of this area with a local guide. You'll also get to go down Music Row, which I had showed you the night shot before. This is the day shot. So this is home to record labels, radio stations, recording studios. It's kind of the heart of the music industry here. So if you're a country music lover, you are going to be in heaven here, absolute heaven. And one thing we're going to get to do with a private tour is we're going to get to see the historic RCA Studio B. And that's where the legends like Elvis and Dolly Parton recorded when they were here. So you'll be in with a guide that will tell you all about it, the history of it, who was there, when they recorded, what they recorded. So what a really unique hands-on experience to be able to see this with a private guide. And if that wasn't enough, you country music fans out there, we have reserved seating and preferred seating at the Grand Ole Opry. So that night, we're going to get to take you to a show there, and you can live out your dream of finally getting to go to the Grand Ole Opry and see it in person. I know a bucket list for a lot of country music lovers. We'll also get to do a private guided tour. Again, it's this private, so just for our group, of the Ryman Auditorium, which was home of the Grand Ole Opry from 1943 to 1974. So you'll have an opportunity to hear about the history of the Grand Ole Opry, how it started, who sang here. There were so many music greats that started out here, and you'll have an opportunity to see and experience all of that. And tonight, too, we're going to take you to somewhere that you can have, went one screen ahead, you'll be able to have some local barbecue as well. And this is a great opportunity to use your Globus Go app, as I mentioned before, because again, just like with the other tour, you can download it. Not only will it have your document, but have information of all the local things to do. And there's so many great restaurants, so many great music venues, so many great little honky tonks and bars and pubs. You'll have access to all of them through your app and be able to use it during your free time. So after our 3 days in Nashville, we'll be heading to Memphis. And many of you will recognize this picture. This is a shot of the famous Beale Street. And Memphis really is famous for its influential start of blues, soul, rock and roll. Think Elvis, think B.B. King, think Johnny Cash, think Jerry Lee Lewis. They all started here and made their mark here. So you'll have an opportunity to see all of this. Also, the same area, besides music, was sort of the heart of the national civil rights movement, and we'll have an opportunity to go with a guide to the National Civil Rights Museum here, which documents the history of the movement, and it's interactive, so it's really unique. You'll have an opportunity to spend time there today, and we'll also take you to dinner at a local restaurant. And I was telling Patti and the girls that when I was doing this PowerPoint, I almost Uber-eated Carolina barbecue because I got so hungry for barbecue here when I put this picture. But you're going to have an opportunity to have plenty of barbecue, and you'll get to taste the difference between Memphis barbecue and some of the barbecues around the South that you may have already tried. So Memphis barbecue is kind of noted for its dry rub. So if you like that dry rub and then dipping it in the sauce, it is absolutely delicious. You're also going to have an opportunity to visit Sun Studios, again with a local guide, and the Rock and Soul Museum, which I'll talk about in a second. But Sun Studios really is a discovery location for B.B. King, for Elvis, for Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis. This is kind of what made them. This is where they were discovered. So you're going to see some absolutely priceless memorabilia here from these musical legends. And You're going to get to hear some of the music that was recorded here as well. So what a great opportunity if you're a music buff to be able to see and hear where these folks started their careers. And we'll take you to the Rock and Soul Museum. You know, I'm from Cleveland. Again, I always hear rock and roll, but this is a little bit different. Rock and soul is a story of really musical pioneers who overcame racial and economic obstacles to really change the cultural landscape of the world. It's these people that influence people like Elvis to create music. So you'll have all of that background as well to be able to see and experience while you're in Memphis. And what's a visit to Memphis without going to Graceland, right? You see the famous gates of the House of Graceland for those of you that haven't been there. So we'll get to see quite a bit of Graceland with our private guide, and they'll take us to Elvis's original office. It literally was left as he left it. So you'll get an opportunity to see and hear the stories behind that. You're going to get to see his collection of gold records and awards, all of his costumes as they sort of transpired through the ages. You'll have an opportunity to do that as well. And you're going to get to see all of his automobiles. He was a huge collector of custom autos and his private jet. You'll get to see and experience and tour that as well. And we're going to take you to the famous spot for barbecue. I told you you're going to get your fair share of barbecue on this trip, but we're taking you to a place called Rendezvous. So barbecue at Rendezvous. You'll be able to remember that, world famous for some of the best barbecue in all of Memphis. So that will end your tour here. I'm going to turn it again over to Patti, and she's going to give you just some additional information and details. Patti?
Yeah, thank you again, Tina. That is, you know, it's eye-opening, and I find it a bit inspiring to learn more about the history and really see it and feel it and kind of engage in it more. So I think this sounds like a very unique tour and could be interesting to a lot of people. I just want to point out again, these accommodations for this particular tour are going to be at the Grand Ole Opryland Resort and then also the guest house at Graceland. So we're talking about some really neat properties. The pricing on this is $20.76 per person based on double occupancy. But stay tuned with us because we have a little way to save you $100 per person if you stick around through the rest of the presentation. That rate, by the way, these rates that I'm giving you include all the prepaid gratuities for all your professional tour director and your driver. So that's already incorporated in the pricing. And again, this tour has breakfast daily and then there's 2 special dinners that gives you a little bit more flexibility to try some other things on your own. And I like that as well. So on both of these tours that we've talked about so far, the deposit is $300 per person. And you know, on this tour for September of 22, the balance isn't due until July of 22. On their previous trip, the balance isn't due until we get into July of 23. So, you know, we're talking about planning for 22 and 23. There's a reason for it, and it's because so many of the tours, I mean, vacations had been put on hold, and there's such great demand for a lot of these tours that people are planning and booking way in advance, and we just want to make sure that our folks get their spot. So we encourage you to go ahead and put your deposit down to reserve and confirm your reservation, and then you've got some leeway for balance dues or layaway payments or whatever makes most sense for your budget. So you know, keep those things in mind too as you're thinking about joining us on any of these trips. And I know we're going to quickly talk about the Canyon Country Adventure that's scheduled for May of 22. It was moved from May of 21 into 22. And it is very popular. I think we've got about 30 people already booked. There's very limited space on this, but I'm going to let Tina, I think some folks that are with us on the line today are actually booked on this. So Tina, why don't you share some of that information with everybody?
Sure, Patti. I, again, adore this itinerary, and the reason I like it so much is because it gives you a really good flavor of many of the national parks that our Great West has to offer. It's unique, and what's nice about it too is it starts out in Scottsdale and ends in what we like to call Sin City, right, Las Vegas. So it's got a great beginning and ending point as well. But it's really focused on the national parks, and I just want to give you just some really quick highlights. And one is we'll get to see Cathedral Rock at sunset as we drive through Oak Creek Canyon. And so this area may look a little bit familiar because it was a location for over 500 Westerns that were filmed in the area. So it may look vaguely familiar to you as we're driving through. Also iconic, right? The Grand Canyon. It's one of the 7 wonders of the natural world. And we spend a lot of time there. You also have a lot of free time, which would allow you to experience the Grand Canyon your way. So not only will you see it with a local guide to hear the history and idea behind some of the stories and lore, but you'll also get to do some unique things. And one is the Skywalk that you can take. The floor is literally glass, so when you walk out on it, it's almost like you're walking on air, and you can look down and see the enormity and the depth of it. It's striking and stunning. Or, you know what, if you're adventurous, you can take a burro. Burros are the most sure-footed animals on the planet. And it's a good thing because they're driving you, I should say, through some really unique trails and ledges. And it's really kind of a hands-on way, almost to go back in time and experience the Grand Canyon as you would have back in the day. You can always hike. There's over 20,000 trails that you can take, some very short, some non-strenuous. So feel free to hike a portion of it for those of you that like to walk and hike a bit. And if you just want to sit back, relax, leave the driving to someone else, you can do a helicopter tour. It's a really kind of great way to experience the enormity of the canyon itself. And lastly, one of my favorite things to do is a float trip. You can do a float trip through parts of the canyon. And I absolutely adore this because you can look up and it's a different perspective because you're seeing it from the ground up as opposed to seeing it from the top down. And you will see all types of birds and wildlife, and the views are nothing short of spectacular on this one. You'll also have an opportunity on this trip to see Monument Valley. And here is where the wind literally has carved these famous sandstone spires. And you see two of the most famous here, and they're called the Mittens. And you can see why, because they look almost like a pair of mittens rising up out of the desert. Can I tell you that you will see some of the most stunning sunsets here you have ever seen in your entire life. Absolutely spectacular. And one thing that's really unique about this area, went too far ahead, but you'll be able to see this with a local favorite Patti had mentioned. And what's unique about this is we take you on 4-wheel drives through Monument Valley with a Navajo guide. This is Navajo tribal ground, and you'll be able to experience the history, the lore, the nuances with a Navajo guide. So again, just a really unique experience you wouldn't get elsewhere. And speaking again of local favorites, we do Antelope Slot Canyon with a private guide as well. So the area that you see there, you'll be able to walk through. And I've got to tell you, it is not like anything else you will ever see or experience, because all of this, again, was carved by water and wind. And it took obviously millions of years. But when you get it from that perspective, instead of looking down in it, but you're walking through it, you'll feel like you're on another planet. You'll feel like almost like you're on Mars. It's an amazing, amazing thing to see and do. We'll also take you through Bryce Canyon National Park, which is extremely unique. You see here the magnificent hoodoos. Those are sort of the long, skinny appendages that you see. Again, years of erosion have carved this sandstone, and because it is sandstone, it's multicolored. So this picture in essence doesn't do it justice because it changed from pink to white to yellow to orange hues. Really unique, and it's an amazing photographer's dream because the photos you can take here are nothing short of spectacular. And lastly, you'll get to experience Zion National Park, and we'll go through with a guide, and we'll see it a couple of different ways. There's some hikes that you can take through it. But Zion National Park, there's two things that you'll notice. One is the fact, the enormity of the mountains on either side. When the Mormons first came here, they actually named it because they thought it looked like a church. So they called it Little Zion, and the name stuck because of that. But we're here at night, and can I tell you that if you've never been in this kind of a place at night to see the star-filled sky, it is absolutely amazing. There are so many stars, you can almost see galaxies. You almost feel like they're so close to you that you could reach up and grab them. It's just an awesome experience. It's awe-inspiring, and you will absolutely adore it. And of course, you can end your vacation. It's a good thing this is at the end, otherwise you would have spent all your money before you even started, right? But at the very end, you'll be able to spend some time in Las Vegas. And as Patti said, you can do extensions on either end. So if you want to spend a couple days in Vegas, she can do that for you as well, her and her staff. So it'd be a really unique way to experience a couple extra nights after going through all the national parks, is to spend a little time in Vegas, baby, as they say, right? So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Patti just to wrap up a bit. Patti?
Okay, thank you, Tina. Again, that's from one extreme to the other. The stars in the sky and the stars in your eyes right there at the Vegas Strip, right? So guys, please give us an opportunity to help you if you have any questions at all. We're excited to be presenting this with you today because we do have a special opportunity to save you an additional $100 per person. So $200 off a couple off these special group prices that we've secured for your traveling experiences for September of 22 and September of 23. It's time now to be making these reservations in order to make sure that you're not going to be closed out. So if you book between today and October 21st, if you give Kate or Marcia a call here in our office, then we'll be able to save you an additional $100, and we don't want to leave any money on the table. So please give us a call. I think the next slide has our phone number on it. There's Kate and Marcia ready to take your calls. Our email is cruiseexperts@magiccruises.com. Please journey to the website, magiccruises.com/nationwide, and you can look at the flyers, the day-by-day itineraries, all the terms and conditions, the reservation forms. Be sure to recognize that, again, these trips are so thoughtfully planned out that it's going to be a smooth, wonderful experience for everybody. Be well taken care of by the professional tour director on board. We also send usually one of Magic staff, or maybe Joanne McHugh herself will be joining you on these trips as well. It's open to family and friends, so feel free to grab your neighbors and ask them to come along, or bring your family to experience some of these wonderful, wonderful destinations with you and create memories that will last a lifetime. So please give us a call. Again, the phone number's there. And with that, we're going to close up for this presentation. We're going to be sending it to you so you can review it and share it with others. And at this point, I just want to say thank you, or gracias, or merci, danke, anything else? Arrivederci. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.